No matter how far away we seem from Liz Truss's incredibly short tenure as time as Prime Minister, it keeps on coming back to new revelations that happen. And I always thought this might happen. Because I'll tell you what, people may remember when we got this Johnson at 10. Well, guess what? Anthony Seldon and, of course, Richmond Newell are back. And guess who their next subject is? If you can't tell by how I opened, it was, of course, Liz Truss. Yes, we are getting Truss at 10. How big, of course, it will be compared to Johnson at 10, who knows? But it's on its way. And already there are new revelations coming out from this book and some of the stuff that they are claiming that Liz Truss was going to do. And we'll be getting that in a moment. But if you never did read Johnson at 10, I can recommend it. Really fun book. Gives you a dive almost into the chaos that was, of course, the Johnson premiership. And I'll tell you what, it's a good read. It's a real good read. You get a lot of insider information. You find out what was just going on. There's stories we've all heard before, but with a little bit more context in and around them and what happened. And of course, the whole story of, well, just how Johnson's downfall really came to be. Really good, fascinating book. Couldn't recommend it more. I will probably be getting Truss at 10 as well. Because Johnson at 10 was a really good book. So Truss at 10 will also probably be a really good, interesting read. I am looking forward to Sunak at 10. So I think Sunak at 10 might also be an interesting read as well. But before we do speculate into that in probably the near future, let's find out what some of these new claims are. Because, oh my word, I think we really dodged a bullet on Liz Truss that she only lasted so long. Because, oh my, oh my indeed, some of these things, if Truss had really gone for some of these things, yeah, yeah, could have been even shorter had she tried pushing some of these things. Who knows? But as I always said, these free market fundamentalists, these things that Liz Truss wanted to push, they're still very much in the Conservative Party. You know, this free market fundamentalism that Liz Truss was pushing, still very, very much in vogue with many of the current Conservative Party MPs. So it hasn't really gone anywhere. They're just a lot more quiet about it. Even Rishi Sunak was a fan of a lot of the stuff that Liz Truss wanted to do. He was, should we say, being a bit more sneaky, being a bit more casual about it, probably, if he had won instead of Truss. But maybe the greatest what if question, what would have happened if Sunak had won over Truss? Who knows? But we're not talking about that at the moment. Let's get into this. But before we do get into that, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page, the one station link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. And of course, don't forget to click the like, the share button, and of course, leave a comment down below. So let's crack on then into this. So this comes from The Guardian with the title of Liz Truss considered cutting NHS cancer care to pay for tax cuts, claims new book. So, Truss at 10, How Not to Be Prime Minister, claims that the then PM suggested severe spending cuts to fill financial black hole. So, Liz Truss considered cutting cancer care on the NHS in a desperate bid to find savings to pay for the tax cuts in her now botched mini budget, according to a new book about her time in office. The book, Truss at 10, How Not to Be Prime Minister, by the renowned political biographer Anthony Seldon, is a 330-page long, largely excruciating account of Liz of Truss's 45 days in Downing Street. And quite frankly, I cannot wait to read it. The claims about Truss's economic policy are, of course, amongst the most dramatic in the book, which also discusses her now fractious relationship with some Tory MPs. The book reports that Truss's mini budget Truss's mini budget unraveled around her, and a policy director, Jamie Hope, and economic advisors Shaba Mildry also huddled in Downing Street to discuss how the cuts were now completing and that they could just not be delivered, the book says. With the quote saying, at the point that they were now joined by then their special advisor, Alex Boyd, who was told Truss and Quatang that they were thinking that they could at least still sort out the black hole with severe cuts, saying, we've been told that they're looking at stopping cancer treatment on the NHS, they told him. Is she serious? Boyd asked. She's lost the plot, they replied. She's shouting at everyone, at us, and officials, and we've got to find the money. Whenever we tell her it can't be done, she shouts back, it's not true. The money is there. You go find it. Wow. Oh, wow. Anyway, a spokesperson for Truss said, it is completely untrue that she ever considered it. Kusi Kwarteng, who was also Chancellor at the time, said, I was not involved in any conversations about restricting healthcare, but that doesn't mean that the Prime Minister and her team did not discuss this. One person, of course, very familiar with the conversation, said that the suggestion to cut the NHS cancer care came not from Truss herself, but from the Treasury, as an illustration of what it would take to fix the black hole in public finances. In the end, Truss's advisors decided to write her a memo detailing how they would actually thought she would need to unwind the key elements of a fiscal plan, including sweeping cuts to corporation tax. The message was passed on through James Bowler, the permanent secretary at the Treasury, and helped to seal her eventual downfall. I always thought there would be more to the Truss story because it makes you think of how many other MPs or who are ministers who knew other stuff were then telling their other MPs, oh yeah, this is what's going on. You thought that was bad. See what she's also trying to do now. And of course, we now realize why they wanted to get rid of her so very quickly. Completely unrepentant, bananas, cuckoo for Cocoa Pops, thinking that Liz Truss was employing at a time in Downing Street. Honestly, this doesn't surprise me. Well, it does surprise me, but it's shocking that we've never heard this before, that we've never got this before. Or this was somewhat of a new recent revelation that this was something that Truss may have suggested at the time. Anyway, Sheldon, who has now penned biographies of Major Blair, Gordon Brown, David Cameron, Theresa May, and Boris Johnson, wrote, Truss had spectacularly failed now on the 8th requirement of a successful premiership, the financial and economic competence, and there were just 7 days before she actually announced her resignation. Elsewhere in the book, Sheldon reports that Truss referred to her former cabinet colleague Michael Gove as a snake after Gove said publicly that it was, quote, not conservative to fund tax cuts from borrowing. Oh, I bet there's going to be a ton of more stuff in that. I bet Truss absolutely hates the rest of her party because I'll tell you what, there has been very, very little love between her and the rest of her former colleagues. Very little love. But it continues. Despite the misgivings about Gove, however, the book says that she still attempted to try and find room for him in the government when she was trying to recover political ground in the wake of the mini budget. Sheldon says in conclusion about Truss, the Conservative Party's long-standing reputation for economic competence and cool-headed pragmatism had been severely tested since 2016, but the final thread was now snapped by Liz Truss. Oh boy. I think there's more stuff in that because in Johnson at 10, there was all this stuff about Gove and Johnson coming to blows, that they were sort of worried about leaving the two in alone, that they had this massive shouting match, worried that they might have to run in and, hold them back from, beating seven bells out of each other. But oh boy, I'm definitely going to get this. I'm definitely going to get this. This looks like a real hoot of a book to read. But oh boy, if you'd like to help me do that, like I say, links down below. But of course, as always, there is the like and share button. And of course, as always, let me know what other revelations you think might be in this book, or what other extra information would you like to see maybe revealed by this book? Because I'll tell you what, there's a lot of stuff and a lot of extra context to some of the stories that we've heard about Johnson in Johnson at 10. So I am looking forward to Truss at 10 immensely on that front. But as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.